was incredibly disappointing. The challenge, we have got to change our challenge rules, and the officials doing the game should have a third party, because that was not a foul.
After she gets the ball and kind of travels, then it looks like this Liberty player is going straight up with it.
Elena Smith is not touching her at all. She has two fingers that look like slightly tapping the ball. Her body isn't touching Breanna Stewart. Her arm isn't touching Breanna Stewart. There was clearly zero contact here.
Want to know why Coach Reeves said, "This Shiti was stolen from us with tears in her eyes"? The numbers tell a story that's hard to ignore. A 17-point free throw difference in a championship game. Think that's normal? Think again. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. What if I told you this wasn't just about one bad call?
Last night's WNBA Finals game was absolutely rigged, and there is so much proof. What a terrible way to end this WNBA season. Breanna Stewart gets the ball here. She turns around and kind of just chucks it up to the basket. So this was called a foul. LeBron James tweeted, he said, "I'm sorry, but that wasn't a foul. Let the damn players dictate the outcome of a close, battled, tested game."
We're talking about a pattern that LeBron James and other NBA stars noticed, and it's forcing the WNBA to face some uncomfortable questions. Let me paint you a picture of what went down at that press conference. Coach Cheryl Reeve walks in, and right away you can tell something's different. Her face is tight, her shoulders are tense. This isn't the same composed coach we're used to seeing break down X's and O's after games. Usually, Reeves' post-game pressers are masterclasses in staying cool under pressure. She's known for breaking down plays with surgical precision, keeping her emotions in check even after tough losses. But this time, this was different. The moment she sits down, you can see it in her eyes. She's barely holding it together. As soon as reporters ask about that final play, Reeves' voice starts trembling. And here's the wild part. Instead of trying to stay diplomatic, she just lets loose. The frustration that's been building all game finally boils over. She's going through the plays one by one, her voice getting more intense with each breakdown. The free throw disparity, she's fuming about it. The missed calls, she's pointing them out left and right. What really got to her wasn't just one call, it was watching her team battle through a physical game where the whistles seemed to blow one way. 25 free throws for the Liberty compared to just 8 for her Lynx. Think about that. In a championship game, that's the kind of stat that makes coaches lose sleep. When Reeves straight up said, "This shit was stolen from us." You've got to understand this is a seasoned coach who's seen it all. She's won championships. She knows the game inside and out. For her to say something that strong, with tears in her eyes, that's when everyone knew this wasn't just another post-game rant. Then she does something you almost never see. She looks right at the cameras and basically dares anyone to call her out for complaining. "I don't care what anyone says," she states, her voice steady for the first time. "Look at the tape, I'll wait." Within minutes, clips of her press conference are spreading like wildfire across social media. And that's when things really exploded, because someone was watching who carries a lot of weight in the basketball world. LeBron James sees this going down, and he's about to add fuel to a fire that's already burning hot. In the middle of all this drama, LeBron James is sitting there watching his phone blow up with clips of Reeves' emotional presser. But here's the thing about LeBron. When he speaks up about officiating, the whole league stops and listens. And what he was about to say would turn this controversy into an absolute firestorm. LeBron's not just any basketball player commenting on a game. When he speaks up about officiating, it hits different. He's been in those pressure situations, he's faced those crucial calls, and he knows exactly what's at stake in championship moments. So when he watched that final sequence, you better believe he had something to say about it. The moment he hit send on that tweet, everything changed. "I'm sorry, but that wasn't a foul," LeBron fired off. "Let the damn players dictate the outcome of a close, battled, tested game." Just like that, what started as a controversial ending turned into a full-blown crisis for the WNBA. His words spread faster than highlights from the game itself. And he wasn't alone. It's like LeBron's tweet opened the floodgates. Damian Lillard jumped in right after, and he didn't hold back either. Refs called this game like they knew the assignment in the second half, boy. Great game, Dame wrote, basically saying what everyone was thinking, but in that classic Dame way. Even Isaiah Thomas got in on it, dropping a truth bomb that had everyone talking. They low-key cheated for New York, but I get it, LOL. This wasn't just about 3 NBA stars speaking up. This was about legitimacy. When LeBron James questions the integrity of officiating in a WNBA Finals game, it hits different. He's been a vocal supporter of women's basketball, using his massive platform to shine a light on the league. So when he's calling out what he sees as unfair, people listen. His tweet wasn't just another hot take, it was a spotlight on a problem that couldn't be ignored anymore. The basketball world was watching this unfold in real time. Every retweet, every response, every reaction was adding fuel to a fire that started with Coach Reeves' tears and was now burning hotter than ever. But to really understand why everyone was so fired up, we need to look at exactly what happened in those final seconds. Because when you break down that controversial call frame by frame, you start to see why these NBA stars couldn't stay quiet. Let's freeze this moment right here. 5 seconds left, 2-point game, championship on the line. Everything you think you know about what happened next, you might want to think again. Because when we slow this play down, frame by frame, you're gonna see something that even the refs missed. Stewart gets the ball at the top of the key, she takes one dribble, then another, and here's where things get messy. Watch her feet closely, that third step before the contact. In real time, it's easy to miss, but in slow motion, you can see her pivot foot slide just before the whistle blows. That's a travel that never got called, but that's just the beginning. The contact itself? Collier's got her hands straight up, her feet set outside the restricted area. In any other quarter, this is textbook defensive positioning, the kind of play that usually gets a great defense call from the refs. Instead, they blow the whistle, sending Stewart to the line for what would be free throws number 24 and 25 for the Liberty. Think about those numbers for a second. 25 free throws for New York compared to just 8 for Minnesota. In a championship game that physical, that intense, how does one team get to the line 3 times more than the other? Earlier in the game, we saw Collier take almost identical contact on her drives. No whistle. Same refs, same court. Completely different standard. The official explanation? They said Collier wasn't in legal guarding position, but watch the replay again. Her feet are planted, her arms are vertical. She even takes the contact square in the chest. It's the kind of defensive play coaches put on instructional videos. Yet somehow, in the biggest moment of the game, it becomes a foul. You want to know what's really wild? 3 minutes earlier, Stewart made almost the same move. Same spot on the floor, same type of contact. But that time, play on, no whistle, nothing. The inconsistency is what had everyone from Coach Reeve to LeBron losing their minds. The Liberty players are celebrating, confetti's falling from the ceiling, but you can feel this weird tension in the air. Everyone in that arena knows they just watched something controversial go down. The championship moment that should have been pure joy now has this cloud hanging over it. And as those final seconds replay on the Jumbotron, you can see fans looking at each other, shaking their heads, knowing this celebration is about to turn into something much bigger than just a game. 28 years of waiting, and when the Liberty finally got their moment, it felt more like a funeral than a championship celebration. Here's the thing about winning a title. It's supposed to be the happiest moment of your career. But what happens when your biggest triumph becomes your most controversial hour? The Liberty players were hugging and jumping around center court at Barclays, but something felt off. The smiles weren't quite reaching their eyes. The celebrations seemed almost hesitant, like they were worried about showing too much joy. 28 years of franchise history, 5 failed finals appearances, and now their moment of glory was playing out under this weird shadow of doubt. Mayor Adams tried to keep the celebration rolling, announcing a ticker tape parade through Manhattan's Canyon of Heroes. It should have been the cherry on top, a historic moment for women's basketball getting the same treatment as Yankees championships and Olympic victories. But even as the announcement hit social media, the comments weren't about making history. They were about that call, that whistle, those free throws. Inside Barclays, the mood was just as conflicted. Half the crowd was going crazy, decked out in Liberty gear, trying to soak in their team's first championship. Everywhere you looked, there were clusters of fans deep in heated discussions, replaying that final sequence on their phones, shaking their heads. The usual MVP chants were mixing with murmurs about officiating and fairness. You could see it weighing on the players during the post-game interviews. These are moments they've dreamed about their whole careers, holding that trophy, wearing those championship hats, talking about making history. Instead, they're standing there looking almost apologetic, trying to celebrate while knowing their biggest achievement comes with an asterisk in some people's minds. Outside the arena, the scene was just as surreal. Liberty fans were spilling onto the Brooklyn streets, but the energy wasn't what you'd expect. Some were defending the win, pointing to the full game's worth of plays that led to this moment. Others couldn't help but acknowledge the controversy, even as they clutched their championship merchandise. The usual, "We're number one!" chants were competing with intense debates about referee standards and league integrity. The celebration was happening, but it wasn't just about basketball anymore. Every high five between fans came with a, "But did you see?" Every congratulatory post had a reply about officiating. What should have been a pure moment of joy for a franchise that's waited nearly 3 decades had turned into something bigger, a turning point that could change how the entire league operates. This controversy isn't just fading away, it's forcing the WNBA to take a hard look at how games are officiated. Coach Reeves' words are still echoing through the league. If you don't want to call it one way, then don't call it the other. Be consistent. Every team asks for that right. We've seen this before in the WNBA with coaches getting fined for speaking out about officiating, but this time feels different. The finals controversy, backed by LeBron's viral criticism and Reeves' emotional presser, is pushing the league toward real change. When a respected coach says, "Look at the tape, I'll wait," with tears in her eyes, you can't just ignore it anymore. The WNBA is at a crossroads now. This isn't just about one game or one call, it's about setting new standards for how the sport is officiated. And maybe that's the silver lining in all this drama. Sometimes it takes a controversy this big to create real change.